You're listening to Enhance's bonus segment, Weird Wednesday. Weird Wednesday is our time to talk about the strange, the unsettling, and the spooky. Hello, Enhance listeners. Thank you so much for tuning back in to another Weird Wednesday. It's after Halloween, sadly. Miss Halloween. Halloween goes by too quickly. Let me tell you, Gabby, my hometown is one of those hometowns that, like, the moment it's November 1st, the moment it's November 1st.
Stop. I don't even want you to finish the sentence.
I know. Downtown Clanton right now, on one of the main buildings on one of the main roads, has, like, joy in, like, all white letters, and the whole rest of the building is, like, plastered in red, so it's just, like, white on a red background. Joy plastered, and I'm pretty sure it's in lights.
All these people need to sit down. We are in ordinary time. We're not even in Advent calendar time, and it's rude to assume that Thanksgiving doesn't have feelings. I'm literally sitting here staring at my 5 pumpkins that are currently in my view. And I'm sitting here going, wow, fall is so beautiful because it's ordinary time, people.
Yeah, I love pumpkins, but I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. That's something I'm just not really big. I haven't done it in years unless I'm like with family that does it. Just because I'm like, indigenous people kind of got murdered and, trigger warning, raped, and taken off their land, and mistreated, and now they're still being mistreated, but just in a new way. You know?
Right, exactly. But also, like, even though the history is shitty, it's all about loving the people around you and being thankful for the people around you that support you. So spend time with family for sure, or people you claim as family, or besties for the resties. Skanksgiving is coming up soon, so I'm gonna have a great time.
I thought you said Skanksgiving.
Skanksgiving, like a skank, like horse.
I thought you said stank,
Sluts.
like she stank. I thought you said stank, as in she stanky, like Stanksgiving.
Skanksgiving. That's what my friends called Friendsgiving, except a little more, pop of the butt
aggressive
kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't celebrate Thanksgiving unless it's like I said, I'm with family that does it. Just because, like, I can be thankful and grateful for people any time of the year. I don't need to do it on a day that's celebrating our country being founded on the graves of indigenous people. But I do like Friendsgiving. I have done a few Friendsgivings before. Like,
and you're right. We shouldn't be celebrating a holiday that is so shitty. But I'm also obsessed with cornbread.
Yeah, but
and
I live
that's
in the South.
honestly the only time I get it. Okay, well, I live in the North, and I don't get that all the time.
Right.
I don't even.
Next time you visit me,
I literally need someone to make me cornbread. Will you make me cornbread?
Yeah, next time you visit me, I'll make you homemade cornbread. I'll make you different types of cornbread because I know different ones. So I can make one that's more like a cake, so it's kind of sweet and crumbly. I can make one that's got actual corn in it. I don't know what the actual name for it is. Sadly, here in the South, it's just called Mexican cornbread, and I feel like that's kind of offensive. But it's like spicy and has tomatoes in it. And then I make you cheesy cornbread. I can make you all kinds of cornbread, girl. I got you. I make you chili cornbread.
And also, obsession. Okay, this is kind of depressing, though. So, have you guys ever heard of funeral potatoes?
Oh my god, no.
Okay, so in my family, we call it party potatoes. And my aunt makes it. Let me. So, obviously, when I say party potatoes, no one ever understands what I'm saying. But then I realized it's actually called funeral potatoes. And we just like made it nice so that people wouldn't feel a certain type of way. But what it is literally like, I think it's like sour cream, cheese, obviously potatoes, and it's all like topped with like plain cornflakes, and it's kind of like it is so good. Honestly, I'm not a cook, and if my Aunt Mary's listening, she's probably just like rolling over laughing because I'm probably explaining it extremely wrong. But she usually makes it, and it's literally fire. I actually am obsessed with it. And
wow.
But apparently that's what you're supposed to give families during a funeral, because people cook food for people when someone has died, apparently.
Wow. Okay, well,
that was deep. So sorry.
Honestly, that sounds disgusting to me.
Oh, it's so good.
I do.
Salt, pepper.
Mashed potatoes are really good with like chives, and before I was a vegetarian, bacon bits.
No, it's like a casserole almost. No,
sour cream, like put all that in mashed potatoes. I'm just saying, like, mashed potatoes was good. Hey, that's like, look, I'm in the South. We cook stuff like that all the time. Okay, like,
I said incorrect.
We don't do that weird Midwestern shit where you put like people. Okay, like honestly, I saw the other day on TikTok how people like in the Midwest just be eating like crazy stuff, like literally dipping cinnamon rolls in chili. What?
No, that's okay. So listen to this. So Natalie, my best friend, she was on a prior episode. She was just talking to me about this, and I was cringing because that's not a thing over here. That's like a Kansas City area, Kansas like state type thing.
Good. So you're like, that's
which I think
us.
is interesting.
Like,
no, but I will say,
just put cornflakes on your damn mashed potatoes.
Correct. Actually, but listen to this. So our mutual friend Emily, she one time looked at me. She's gonna literally listen to this and like kill me, but it's fine. But she literally looked at me one day and goes, "Hey Gabby, you want to try vanilla ice cream and olive oil?"
What? What?
And I was like, I literally did the same thing, because like in the Middle Eastern like tradition, olive oil is used for everything. You put that shit on your face to like moisturize your skin. Like, olive oil is not something that you eat with ice cream. We also don't really eat ice cream, so like it's kind of funny. I mean, I love ice cream, but like not a thing anyway. But like, she said that to me and I was like, you're lying. She goes, it was in a cookbook. I said, that shit was in a cookbook? What? It was crazy. And she ate it in front of me, and then she offered it to me, and I was like, I'm good. I'm gonna sit over here.
Yeah.
She's so cute. She's so cute. Everyone say hi to her. She's working her booty off.
Say hi to Emily. Well, on that note, today let's introduce our Weird Wednesday topics. For me, I'm gonna talk about mirrors.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna talk about manifestations.
We did M's today. We didn't even mean to do that. Gabby, I didn't know what Gabby was doing until, so yeah. That's so
no,
funny.
I literally texted Sam and said, I don't know. I said, usually when I think of a Weird Wednesday topic, it just kind of comes to me. And this week, it did not, until literally last night as I was fully unwell. And I did the entire thing. And I read it this morning. And I was like, oh my God, this is actually kind of like good.
That's so funny. Yeah.
So maybe that should be my new inspiration.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about mirrors, and I'm going to go first since you went first last week, and since I talked for so obnoxiously long last week. But honestly, that was one of my favorite episodes to record, even though it was just
loved it.
Episode.
I loved it. It was so interesting.
Thank you. It was just, I was like, I mean, getting to recant all that stuff in chronological order, I was like, wow, I'm such an interesting human being. I've had such an interesting life.
You have, though. You literally have, especially like spiritually. Like I feel like you've became one of those people, you know, like you're a spiritual influencer now.
Yes, thank you. Anyways, so I'm gonna be talking about mirrors. I'm gonna talk about like how mirrors work, because something that's always been interesting to me. Because I'm like, how can a mirror? I'm gonna sound so dumb. Maybe not. Maybe other people will get it. But how can a mirror reflect things that are not in front of it? Right? Like, correct. How are we, you know? And so really the explanation is very simple, but I'm just going to go through and talk about some of the basic like physics behind a mirror. And then also I'm going to talk about the history of mirrors. And then I'm going to go into just kind of like taboo things about mirrors. I've got a theory that's like a dumb, like, oh, spooky theory. Then I have like an actual scientific theory. And then I have a lot of the different like cool topics that I'm going to talk about with mirrors that have kind of come up through the ages, especially through modern times. But yeah, mirrors are something that just always interested me, because you can find all kinds of weird shit about mirrors on the internet. And I'm also like, who came up with the idea? Like, I mean, I know that like we have like reflections in water, and like that's cool, but like who came up with the idea to make a mirror and how the hell is it even made, right? And then I found that out today, and it's actually very simple. A lot of mirror stuff is very simple, and humans are just who make it like complicated and spooky. So first up, the physics behind a mirror, or basic understanding, is that a mirror is like a very smooth surface, but microscopically. So like on a microscopic level, even if you like look at it under the telescope, it's going to have a very smooth surface, which allows whenever light is pointed at it, for when it reflects, it's going to reflect directly back, right? And so that's why for certain mirrors that like are distorting and things like that like make, you know, like funhouse mirrors and things like that, that's where they have to like physically change the physics of the mirror in order to make it do that. But that's how they're able to do it, is because it's such a microscopically like flat surface, and it allows light to flip back like directly. And so this is called specular reflection, and to put it in like an actual scientific definition, it means that all the light is reflected in one direction and the image is clear. So it just I said scientific, but honestly that's a simple explanation, but I just wanted to say it not in my own words. But this is the opposite of diffuse reflection, which is reflecting imperfections in rough surfaces such as fabric. So that's where, like, you know, light, basically when you think about how we see things, it's because light has hit an object and then bounced off of it, and now our eyes are perceiving that light. And so like when you see the color blue, it's because you have an object that is absorbing all other like shades of color in the light, or pigment in the light, and it's only reflecting blue light. But it's obviously not glowing or anything like that, but it's just only holding on to the blue light. It's not reflecting anything else. And so when like light hits a mirror, it does not absorb anything, it reflects everything. So, and I know that's probably a very incorrect way to explain that, but that's the way my brain understood it. Let's to talk about light more. Obviously, like I said, the key factor is the smooth surface of the mirror, and like I said, because rough surfaces scatter light instead of reflecting it. And so whenever photons or rays of light hit a mirror, they are able to bounce off directly in the same direction. And so it's literally on a, like, everything is on a microscopic level. That's why it comes through so clearly, and our eyes just aren't perceiving how complex this is, but it's actually really simple too, which is strange. But yeah, so now the flipping effect that happens in the mirror, that's something else that interests me, because I'm like, why is everything backwards? It makes sense, like you're looking at something and it's showing like a mirrored vision of you, but also, like, is this what people expected when they were first, like, I think way too deeply into it. So for the flipping effect, it's the website that I found this on, it was the Washington Post, and it said that you are specifically doing the flipping, like whenever you look in a mirror, and I'm like, I get that, but I don't. So, like,
okay, yeah, a little more description, like, please. Yeah, like,
I mean, so I still don't understand what they mean by, like, we're doing it, but I understand what it's saying. So basically, when you imagine light hitting on something and reflecting off of it, light doesn't just hit like in a straight path, like it disperses a lot of times, right? And that's why a mirror is able to capture that light and then deflect it off directly. And so that's why we're able to see things. But whenever light hits a mirror from different directions, it's going to direct that reflection and that light back in the same path that it came in. So imagine, like, I'm going to try to explain this where I don't have to use hand motions, but I'm going to use hand motions for you, Gabby.
Use hand motions, whatever works for you.
So I've got my left hand up right now, like flat, facing toward me as if it's a mirror. And then I have my index finger on my right finger going slowly toward my left hand as explaining that, or as like an explanation. So as I bring my right hand toward my left hand, which would be like the object or the light is my right index finger, mirror is left hand. Whenever it hits, say it comes from an angle. So say it comes from my right. So I'm looking in the mirror, and then say there is a toilet to my right? So when light reflects off of that toilet and now is coming toward the mirror, when it bounces off the mirror, it's going to send in the same exact direction. And so that's what causes the flip, is that if we were to see everything correctly, then it would then continue, like the light would sort of continue in the same path, or it would bounce off in the opposite direction. But instead it bounces off in the same exact direction it came in, which then scatters the light or the reflection in that direction when we look into the mirror. So you're not even actually looking into anything, because I know it's like looking into the mirror is how people say that, but you're not actually looking into anything. You're just observing light reflecting off of a very, very smooth surface. So it's just reflecting it in the same exact direction it came from, which then perceives as you seeing it flipped on the other side. So if that makes sense. Yeah, awesome, cool. I did a
that
good
was
job
better.
of explaining that.
Yeah, that
Thank
actually
you.
like that was a lot better than I thought that was gonna go. So good job.
Thank you.
Of course.
I did a lot of scrupulous studying, so I'm just kidding.
I love that for you. You took hours upon hours in your day to understand mirrors.
I did.
I love it.
Come to my physics class, everyone. Sam for professor.
Yikes.
So, the history of the mirror, obviously, like, calm, dark water was the first usage of a reflection, but people have started making mirrors thousands of years ago. I mean, like, the earliest mirrors were documented. They were found in Anatolia, which is modern-day Turkey, in 6000 BC.
Jeez.
And so, the first mirrors were likely polished stones, such as obsidian, which is a type of volcanic glass. So they still used glass, like what we use today, except for, of course, it was volcanic glass, not man-made glass. And so, large pieces of polished metal, such as brass, were also used as mirrors. And although they were very expensive, so they were hard to obtain. The modern mirrors that we're familiar with are much more recent. European glassmakers began developing a process of coating clear glass with a thin layer of reflective metal in the 15th and 16th centuries. So it's still very similar, like they use the glass and metal, but where they polish these things to make a reflection, we are now creating glass and then pouring metal in a liquid form on top of it, and that flatness and that smoothness is what is causing the mirror effect so clearly. And so where before polished stones and like polished metals wouldn't have been as clear.
So correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm a little, science is not my forte, let's be honest. So like I'm looking at a mirror literally in front of me right now. So you're telling me that I'm not looking into, like, I'm looking at glass, but it's not just glass. It has a metal filling on top to make it smooth. Yes. So I'm looking at metal, not glass.
Mm-hmm. Well, think about it, if you look at, like, aluminum, whenever aluminum is melted, it looks like a mirror, but, like, you can't see really your reflection into it because of how it's, like it's not smooth, right? And so it's moving around a lot and everything else. But, like, when you look at it, it like has that same look as a mirror. And so what they're doing, because aluminum is actually, I'll cover that in a second, aluminum is one of the metals that they use a lot in mirrors. Whenever it's smeared onto the glass, it takes that like weird metallic like look to it, that it looks like a mirror when it's in its liquid form, and then when it is put on the glass, it's smoothed out, which then causes the reflective quality.
Wow, actually that's interesting, because like I would have never thought of it that way. Again, science, not my forte. Don't judge me. I already see that some of you are. Thank you. But no, I literally, but then like you think about like, oh, you know, like Windex. You're literally just Windexing metal.
Oh, like if you clean a mirror?
Yeah. Like with a paper towel?
I may be wrong. But I'm pretty sure you can get like mirror cleaner.
Windex is mirror cleaner. It's technically glass cleaner. So when you're doing like cleaning, you're literally cleaning metal with Windex. It's just interesting. I don't know. I just think about silly stuff like that. Anyways, continue. So sorry.
No, I mean, I get it. I feel like it's probably because it does take on more of the role of glass than metal. Because I mean, like if you break a mirror, it breaks like glass, you know? And so it's probably because the metal is such a thin layer on top of the glass.
Oh, see, didn't even think of it like that either. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But that's also how, you know, there are those like reflective windows. like where you can only, it's similar concept. It's just that instead of it being dark on one side, they've now poured a layer or something on one side and kept the other side clear. And I didn't look into all of that, but it's a similar concept, I'm sure, because you see your reflection on one side, but you're able to see through the other side. So today's mirrors are usually made of clear glass that has been coated on one side with a thin film of metal such as silver or aluminum. The mirrors in most bathrooms are these types of mirrors known as plane mirrors, and that's spelled Plane mirrors. They are flat and reflect the objects in front of them accurately, maintaining the same relative size and position of the object reflected. And so that's the same thing with the light bouncing directly off of the mirror and everything else being reflected. The first evidence of mirrors as grooming tools dates to the 5th century BCE in illustrations of elegant Greeks gazing into hand mirrors, and they were like illustrated on pottery and things like that. And so I actually saw some of the pictures of these, like of what the hand mirrors looked like, and like they look like metal polished down really, 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 really well, and then with like a nice metallic like decorative frame, and it's just like hand mirrors where you can like look at yourself. So the Greek philosopher Socrates gave advice to young men that he was teaching to look at themselves in the mirror, and those who were handsome should focus their life on keeping their souls clean and stay away from temptations of life that could take them on the wrong path. But if a young man would find that he was not handsome, he should compensate for his look from his heart and get known for doing a lot of good things. So basically, if you're handsome, resist temptation, because all the ladies, days, and gays are going to want you. And then if you're ugly, just be a good person. Like, if you're ugly, just be good.
Dang, I mean.
And he like left it up to like people to say, like, decide that about themselves.
Yeah, I was about to say that. It's actually kind of interesting because he very much used a physical item to reflect somebody's like attitude and mood about themselves.
Yeah.
So is it humbling? Is it not humbling? You know, are they someone that is going to do those good deeds even if they're not gorgeous, whatever, or like vice versa? I think it's interesting. I think it's a good I mean, it's shitty if you think about it in, like, the physical aspect, but, like, if you think about it in, like, the philosophical aspect, I think that's actually a very interesting concept.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that was just a little fun fact, since we were talking about Greeks gazing into hand mirrors on pottery. But yeah, so in the medieval period, glass mirrors completely disappeared because during those times, religious confessions stated that the devil is looking and watching the world from an opposite side of the glass mirrors. So basically, people then would have to just use polished metal again to see their own reflection. Instead of glass. Glass mirrors came back only in the 13th century. This time they were bent slightly outward. The method of attaching the tin to the flat surface of the glass wasn't invented yet. And so using available technology, master glaziers poured hot tin into glass tubs, and then after the tin was cold, they would break it into separate pieces. And so basically they still had this like weird distorted version of the like glass mirrors, but they would always be kind of bulged outward because of them pouring the metal in. It created like this kind of bowl effect, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, but like not whatever the opposite, like whatever meaning like indented inward means, whether it's concaved or convex. Yeah, I can't remember which one is which, but like, yeah.
I don't either. Anyways, actually.
So it would kind of have this like weird bowl effect. Venetian masters invented a flat mirror technique. They figured out how to attach the tin to a flat glass surface, and Venetian masters invented another trick. They created a special reflective mixture in which gold and bronze were added. Because of this magical mixture, all objects reflecting in the mirrors looked much more beautiful than in reality. The cost of one of the Venetian mirrors then was comparable to the cost of a large naval ship. In a city of Nuremberg, Germany. In 1373, the first mirror manufacturing plant was opened. Mirrors were then aggressively integrated into all aspects of life. In the 16th century, mirrors became a part of mysterious rituals and witchcraft. Also, for 200 years, mirrors were used by Spanish and French spies for coding and decoding secret messages. These secret coding systems were introduced in the 15th century by Leonardo da Vinci.
You know, and I think it's interesting, even with the fact before that about the mirrors being with this magical dust that made you look better than you are. Because I feel like we low-key still use those tactics today, but with marketing and purchasing items like in clothing stores and stuff.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, how photoshopped models are.
Or, you know, I even think about, there was a YouTube video of someone going into a Target and being like, okay, I want you to see how I look like in this mirror, and then like went home and like went to her regular mirror, and you could tell that she looked 10 times different in the Target one than like the one that was not altered. So even in the in marketing strategy in the dressing room, we are still editing those things, and it's just so interesting. So interesting how something as little as that can change your mind, you know?
Yeah, it all has to do with the angling too, because if you keep in mind how a mirror reflects, like I said, it's very like like light hits it and it reflects directly off, so it just like reflects all light. Whenever you're like in a dressing room and you look better, it's because of angling. So that mirror is angled to point at you more to downward look, so it's hiding like how people will take pictures like take selfies way in the air by putting their hand like way in the air, and it makes them look super skinny. It's the same kind of concept. It's that the angle that it's looking at you at is covering up because it's looking at you downward. The shape of your body from above is covering up any curves or anything that would be the shape of your body from looking at you straight on.
Right. Oh, that's crazy. All crazy.
I mean, that's very brief history. So now I'm just going to kind of hop into some other weird topics, like taboo topics. So this one, it's not very exciting. It's just something I found and wanted to include because I feel like it's just a similar thought we've all had before, but kind of put to more of an extreme. And I don't believe it, but there is something called the mirror theory, which is like a creepypasta, or it's like based in, like it's found on the creepypasta wiki. And it's basically that there's a mirror self. There's like a mirror version of you inside the mirror that whenever you're doing things in the mirror, the reason it's doing the exact same thing as you but flipped is because it's another version of you that's trying to keep you from going into the mirror. And so where it's like an entity that's trying to keep you from going into the mirror. So if you put your hand on the glass, then and it like you touch palms with your reflection, that it's actually, you're not touching the surface of the mirror, you're touching its hand and it's pushing against you to keep you from going into the mirror. Creepy thought, but definitely don't believe that. Like definitely don't believe that.
No, there's other things I believe about mirrors, but that's definitely not one of them. I mean, could you imagine though, like having a whole other entity of you in a mirror? I mean, it's an interesting theory, but I don't think that is completely accurate.
I have some superstitions about mirrors. Like one thing that I tell everyone is like, do not sleep with a mirror in your room, especially if it's facing your bed. Like that's just a big thing. Like I've had so many instances where actually a common friend that you and I haven't gotten her permission to say her name on the podcast, but so I'm not going to. But there was one time where she was like, I keep waking up in the middle of the night, like wide awake. Like I will be sleeping and then all of a sudden just like wide awake. And she was like, I can't figure out why. It's like something just scared me awake or something alerted me awake. And she was like, I also I keep having these crazy nightmares. Like I just keep on, like it's, I don't know what's happening. Like I'll have nights where I just can't go to sleep. And I was like, well, let me look at your room. Like, let me see what, like if there's anything that stands out to me or if I can see like anything with feng shui. And so she FaceTimes me and she like is panning around the room and I see something. I'm like, wait, go back. And she was like, okay. And she kept like missing it. I was like, no, right there. What is that? And she's like, oh, that's my mirror. I was like, why? No, like cover that up when you go to sleep first off. And she was like, oh, well, I have 3 in here pointed at my bed. And I was like, oh my God, cover them all up. Like, what are you doing?
I agree 100% with that.
And she did. And she stopped having problems sleeping. you know, like.
Yeah, like I definitely realized that because like I have had so many nightmares with like mirrors in front of my bed without even knowing, and then moving them and then not having them anymore, to the point where now excuse me, I have, oh my gosh, that was a yawn. I have always put, if I have a little like corner in my room where it's like, you know how like sometimes when you walk into a room and you're like walking in the door and then there's like a wall because it starts like the closet and then it goes into the rest of the room. I tend to put my mirror either on that wall or the wall behind the door because it doesn't face my bed and it just makes me feel better about myself and it's just not as creepy. But also you should not be pointing them at your bed, period, on God.
Yeah. I just had to go down to Mobile for that workshop, and my friend that I was staying with, or that I was staying at his house, he's not there right now, he's working in Boston, but the room that I was staying in had a mirror pointed at the bed, and so I took something that I brought with me and just like set it right in front of the mirror to where when I was laying in the bed, it, like my reflection was not seen. I was like, there we go, that's good, that's fine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
next thing we're going to talk about is the whole like superstition that if you break a mirror that you get 7 years of bad luck. Basically, this is stemmed from an ancient myth and belief that the mirror not only reflected a person's outsides but also reflected a person's soul. So like it wasn't just like what we look like on the surface, like it captured a reflection of our soul and was showing it. And so the belief behind this was that if you were to shatter a mirror, especially if you were looking into it, you were shattering a piece of your soul. And so ancient Romans believed that the soul regenerated itself every 7 years. So if you if you shattered a mirror and it shattered part of your soul, that in 7 years is when your soul would regenerate and like heal itself. And so basically it was the belief then that you would have, a shattered soul for 7 years. So that's where the whole like 7 years of bad luck comes from. Just an interesting thing.
Is it 7 years from when you break the mirror, or just like every 7 years of your life?
See,
like
I had that same thought, but then I decided not to look into it too much because I was like, these were ancient times. And these were times when people were making up stories about like a goddess being born from sea foam that was a result of a wave, that was a result of a god cutting off one of his nuts and it hitting the ocean. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like this was a time period when we had like people were just saying shit, and they were just saying shit to say shit. Like fairies live in the woods, so if you knock on the wood, they'll come to your aid. Like, like what? Like and like don't get me wrong, I have a lot of like weird spiritual beliefs, but like they were just saying the most outlandish shit. I was like, you know what, people probably didn't question it then, so it probably just like knowing they were like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be for 7 years. Or to help with it, my understanding too is that what if the soul is always like it based off this, what if the soul is always in a state of regeneration, and 7 years is how long it would take to regenerate from you shattering it within a mirror, like from when you're breaking.
Well, because then I was thinking like, okay, so if I break a mirror at the age of 5, I only have 2 years to regenerate. Like that's what I was thinking, but
yeah.
Okay, that's my comment. Sorry.
So that's what, like, yeah, I took it as like the soul, sort of like if you imagine like whenever you hear people talk about like their Saturn return, like Saturn returns to the exact point in the sky from the day you were born. My my brain is like, okay, every 7 years is a cycle for the soul. And so basically, like, in my head, the shatter of the mirror just paired that and was like, okay, so 7 years is the cycle of a soul. So it's going to have to take like 7 years for it to regenerate and return to the point it was before it, like, even if it's not at its 7th year mark, it would be the 7 years after the year, like after the mirror broke, that it would return to the point at which it was before the mirror broke, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
that's just how I understood it. Because like if you also look at it like a Saturn return too, like there's always a Saturn return going on, but that doesn't mean it's one for you. That just means that there's one going on. So like there's always a 7th year mark happening, or there's always like a point of regeneration. And so it just so happens to take 7 years for the soul to regenerate after you've broken a mirror.
Okay. Got it. All the math is here.
Astrology, math, Logic.
Yeah, literally, I was like, hold on, brakes. Slam the brakes. I need to understand this before we move on. Okay.
I used a lot of things to bullshit an answer to make your head happy.
Thank you. And I'm glad you did.
It took me 7 years to generate that shit. The next thing I want to talk about is it's black holes. Random, I know. A black hole is an object that absorbs things, pulls things in quicker than anything else in existence. So like light is not the fastest thing in the universe because it is being like, if it were to be pulled into a black hole, it would be pulled in so quickly that even it could not escape. Black holes are just like completely, like they reflect no light whatsoever. So there was a question that posed basically, if you were to create a box, like this like weird box that captured light, and there was a mirror in there, but you somehow made a mirror a one-way mirror, right? So like when it absorbed the light that it was going to reflect, it could not project it, like it could not reflect it. And the question was, would the mirror eventually explode? And so the thing is that maybe, but because it would be absorbing so much light that it wouldn't have anywhere else to put the light. And that's a really weird, like that's a whole, my brain can't handle that. Like I can't get into that right now.
That's kind of crazy.
I need to like take a, So, but basically the question, like answers the question theoretically would be yes, but it wouldn't explode the way we think. It would like more implode because then it would become a black hole. And so, like, it would be pulling in light so quickly. Like, it would have to be pulling, like, for that to work, it would have to be pulling in light so quickly that it is pulling it in faster than when light can reflect back. And so, or that what light can travel back. So it's pulling in so fast that the light is just getting pulled in and not being reflected. And so then that would create a black hole because that's the only thing that, like, can do that to light. And so that's just a fun little yay. So mirrors might make black holes one day. Who knows? Just kidding. Next thing is that this thing called the Queen and the Fool game. And it's this game / ritual that was popularized on Reddit. And it involves the user setting up a fan, mirrors, 3 chairs, candles. And basically what they do is they set a chair that they're going to sit in, then they use 2 other chairs and set them up like one to the right, one to the left, pointing at them. And then they put a mirror that will also face them in the chair. And I don't know what they do with the candles or with the mirror or anything like that. I didn't get too much into it. But basically, if you complete this game or this ritual, the reflections that are you will come out of the mirror and be sitting on the chair, and they'll actually be entities from another like universe or another realm. And so the thing is, though, that you can't make eye contact with them. So you have to just look forward and like see them out of your peripheral, or you have to, I think it said that you have to like pay attention to the candle or something like that. But basically one of the chairs will be occupying someone that is the role of the queen, and someone will be occupying the role as the fool. And you'll get to ask these 2 entities questions, and a lot of people experience hearing answers back at them. And so now I want to get into a scientific explanation for that, because see, my thing, like there's so much creepy stuff with the mirrors. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna find some really cool spooky stories with mirrors and everything. But as I started like researching it, I found to me that the science was a lot more interesting, and that's why I was like, wow, this is really cool, like photons, all that cool shit, right? But here's something that's really, really cool. So this is fully scientific. I say scientific, this is fully psychological. Like this was a well-researched, well-done thing that is a true thing that happens, and it applies to mirrors. So I'm going to read this word from word where I got it from. I got it from the Scientific American, and I've heard about this before, so that's why I was like, ooh, I know what this is. So this is called the Caputo effect. The researcher the researcher is telling 2 people to do something so that he can observe them. So the researcher informed them as the 2 people, then that the purpose of the study was to understand the perception of the face of another person. The 2 participants were to gaze at each other's eyes for 10 minutes straight while maintaining a neutral facial expression and pay attention to their partner's face. After giving these instructions, the researchers stepped back and sat on one side of the room away from the participants participants' line of sight. The 2 volunteers settled in their seats and locked eyes, feeling a little awkward at first, but suppressing uncomfortable smiles to comply with the scientist's direction. 10 minutes had seemed like a long stretch to look deeply into the eyes of a stranger, but time started to lose its meaning after a while. Sometimes the young people felt as if they were looking at things from outside their own bodies. Other times it seemed as if each moment contained a lifetime. Throughout their close encounter, each member of the duo experienced their partner's face as ever-changing. Human features became animal traits. They would become these monstrosities, or this like deformed version of a human, and some of them were eyeless. There were like eyeless faces with too many eyes, and the semblance of dead relatives materialized too in their partner. So this is called the Caputo effect, and because this scientist, his last name is Caputo, that's why it's called that. I should have written down his first name, but he got 50 other people or 50 other volunteers to do this same experiment, and every single one of them experienced something very similar. They would experience distortion in the other person's face. They would experience, but they had to lock eyes. That was the important thing, is like they had to continue making eye contact with this person, and it was like the peripheral vision that they were seeing of that person's face is what would distort, and they would see like dead relatives. They would see like monstrosities. People would turn more animalistic than human, and there were even like, I saw some of the drawings of what people saw, and some of them are really, really scary. Like some of them look kind of like aliens. There was one of them where there was a person that saw like hollowed, like they were looking at the person's eyes and the eyes became hollowed out, and like they were just looking into 2 holes like in someone's face. Yeah. So this Caputo effect is responsible for things that we experience, like Bloody Mary and the Candyman. So, because a lot of these experiments and a lot of things that, like the first one with the Queen and the Fool and everything else, a lot of times those are done in the dark with very dim lighting. So, the Queen and the Fool is with the candles. And I'm pretty sure I read somewhere, could be wrong, but that he did this usually in a dimly lit room, with most of the light focused on their partner's face. And so this effect takes place whenever you look into a mirror for a long period of time as well. And so that's what causes things like Bloody Mary, the Candyman, for you to have these hallucinations that come up where you see things in the mirror. It's because you're looking into something's eyes for way too long. There are a few things behind this that could explain why this happens, but I want to go into more of so there was a TikTok trend that happened that was going around for a while, and a lot of the spiritualist community picked it up, and they were like, ooh, we're gonna do this, blah 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 blah. And I was like, I kind of want to try it, but no thanks, like I'm good.
Yeah.
And so basically what you do is you get in a mirror, you like get as close to a mirror as you can, and you look at your own reflection, like try to make eye contact with your reflection, and you say the words, I am you, you are me, and we are one. And people were experiencing like seeing a different version of themselves. People were experiencing seeing like what they looked like in a past life, what they would look like as older. Like they would see these weird like deterioration and these weird other versions of themselves, and that is completely because of the Caputo effect. But here's the thing. I heard about this a while back. I watched it in a documentary and I heard about it on a podcast. Cannot tell you where I got it from, so I'm so sorry. I will not have any sources to cite for this, but I just know that I heard it somewhere. I'm not just making this shit up. I'm not pulling it out of my ass. But what happens specifically whenever you are experiencing this with yourself, so when you look at your own reflection, our brains are not designed to see our reflection for prolonged periods of time, but we are designed to see people for prolonged periods of time. And so whenever you look in the mirror, you're consciously knowing that you're seeing your own reflection, right? But that's why, like, if you don't expect to see your reflection and you're walking somewhere and you see it, it kind of scares you all of a sudden because you don't expect someone to be there and you automatically assume it's another person, even though it's very clearly you, And so your brain automatically assumes whenever you see another human, it's another human. And so when you go look in a mirror, you're consciously making the decision to look in like at your reflection in the mirror, so everything's chill, everything's fine, everything's cool. And so, but a lot of people that were doing this TikTok trend where they were looking in the mirror, one thing that they would experience was this extreme disassociation from their reflection in the mirror. They no longer felt like they were looking at themselves in the mirror. And so that's whenever this effect comes in, the Caputo effect,
right?
Because basically you're looking into the eyes of yourself, but your brain is constantly going back and forth between, oh, I'm looking in the mirror, this is my reflection. Oh, wait, I'm looking at this for a really long period of time, so this is another human. And so you're constantly going in this loop of, that's me, that's not me, that's me, that's not me. And so this effect takes place a little bit deeper, and it causes like extreme dissociation because your brain is not used to perceiving its own image for that long period of time. Yeah.
That's like so intense and crazy, but like psychologically, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, that's all I have for mirrors today.
Oh, but that was so cool. I really enjoyed that. And, you know, I think about it. I mean, you know, even if you like disassociate with like anything, like I know for me, and maybe this is just a Gabby thing, you can tell me, but when if I look at the carpet under me right now and I look at it for too long, it looks like it's like waving around a little bit.
Yeah.
And it makes sense when you were talking about how you're not used to looking at your face, and so you think it's somebody else. And I mean, it's just human nature at that point.
Yeah. Absolutely. That also has a lot to do with the fact that our brains have been wired to have instant gratification and instant like information. There's this article I had to read while I was in college that is by what's his name, Nicholas Carr, and it's called "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" And it's basically this whole like report on how affected people have become by modern technology. And so our brains have been so wired to be constantly stimulated that when we are not stimulating our brains, that's whenever it will like leave room for shit to be made up. And so like you looking at the carpet, your brain is like looking at that carpet and thinking, oh wow, I'm sitting here and staring at one place for a really long time, nothing's happening. And it's like wanting to make something happen. So it's like your brain just needing to be stimulated because it's always stimulated.
So interesting. Honestly, I like that. Good topic. Good job, Sam.
Yeah, thank y'all. All right, manifestation. Tell me how to manifest, Gabby.
Yeah. Hey guys, it's me. Okay, so manifestation, so the definition, I kind of pulled it from a couple different places, so this is kind of like a combined definition, but it's making an individual's wishes come true by mentally visualizing and believing in them. So there's a lot of different ways we can manifest, which we will get to by the end of this little spiel, but let's talk about where the idea of manifestation came from. So first, it came from actually a lot of ancient Greek traditions. It was a popular concept in the time, and it was pretty much like a very only god and goddesses type idea. They didn't really associate it with humans being able to do it. So like for the Greeks, if a god or goddess wanted to, you know, make something happen, you could pretty much watch them just go, like these gods or goddesses in the belief say, okay, it's going to happen, blah, 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 and then make it happen. But they did believe that the manifestations would never conflict with another god or goddess's like stuff. So it was only towards their special thing that they were in charge of. Which is like a huge difference between what manifestation is now and what it was back then. But also, you have to think about in the Greek world, a lot of gods and goddesses were given a lot of personified human qualities because they also wanted these gods and goddesses to be relatable. So yeah. I think that's what kind of took a turn at some point to where people believed that they could also do manifestations. And then in Hinduism, it came into this big faith belief when other teachings were kind of at the same time that manifestations could happen. So like when yoga and chakras and third eye stuff all kind of came into the first, you know, beginnings of the Hindu faith, so was manifestations, which was fully just putting it out into the universe in a sense, like really just fully faithfully believing that something can come back to you. But this also had to do with things like karma, which I think is still relevant today in my personal belief. So that was kind of interesting. And obviously Hinduism is still here till today. So obviously those beliefs have carried on further. But also Catholics kind of took Catholics and Christianity kind of took manifestations, but they kind of reworded it, reshaped it into what people now think as prayers and things like that. So what is interesting about that, and I don't know if I love or disagree with that, or is that like, I mean, when I feel like I pray to God, I feel like I'm really talking to God. Mm-hmm. You know, but in other faiths, if you do that same thing, but they're talking to like their higher being, mm-hmm. whether that be another monotheism type of religion or spiritual life, or, you know, something with multiple deities, or, you know, whatever, talking to some higher being, it's literally a prayer. It's literally like the non-Catholic version of a prayer. You're literally like, God, thank you for putting this in the world for me. I would love, you know, some support from my friends and family. You're doing these little manifestations. You have no idea. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And I had that conversation with my mom actually just the other day. I think it was yesterday, because she was talking about how my sister told her, like, wow, I wish like God would answer my prayers the way he answers yours. She was like, well, you don't spend as much time with him as I do. And I was like, well, I am pagan. I'm not a Christian. And my prayers getting answered, you know, like, and so I just, you know, and so I was like, there's a little bit of a difference where, like, my question is, why would God wait for you to ask? You know what I'm saying? Like, why? Like, now, if you're like, God, I really want, like, I don't know, I want peace and comfort with this. I could see why God or any higher power would be like, good for you for knowing your worth. Like, you do deserve this. Here, I'll give it to you. You know, like, it would be like a ask and you shall receive. Like, know what to ask for at the right time. But if there's things like, God, please help the starving children of Africa. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or like, why would God wait for us to pray? Or like, God, please, like, heal my, like, brother who's in the hospital right now from a car accident. Like, why would God wait for us to ask? Like, why wouldn't he just, and like, why would us praying make any difference? And so what I was trying to explain to her is like, it's because of manifestation. Like, it's because of like, it's not like, I mean, sometimes you can ask like a higher power and they'll be like, yeah, I got you, and step in. But a lot of times it's just a relationship between energy. Like, it's just you putting out the energy in a prayer and having faith that it will happen. That is the process of manifestation.
It's exactly, it's literally the entire, again, back to the definition, let's scroll back up here, making an individual's wishes come true by mentally visualizing and believing in them. So it is the full force of belief. Now, that kind of, the ideas of those kind of faded out or were reworded. But then in the 19th century, we come back with a bunch of different people trying to bring manifestation back up as a topic of conversation. Helena Blavatsky. We're going to pretend I said that right. Gave a lot of guidance and spiritual instruction, but she was also just like very, very widespread, very in different countries talking about all of this. And she had a very big reputation for being like extremely gifted, extremely spiritual, just like she just drew people in. And she did write a book. It's called The Secret Doctrine. And she drew on a lot in this book about ancient religious traditions, which she then kind of touched on the law of attraction, which is part of a manifestation. So with that being said, the law of attraction was in a lot of ancient, like Eastern, like teachings and traditions. And it wasn't ever called law of attraction. That was a very new, again, rewording of this manifestation type idea. But it was really referred to a lot in Buddhist writings, even though it wasn't like a main thing, but definitely was worded in there, and a little bit in Christianity as well. But again, not using that law of attraction verbiage.
Did you find anything about the other laws that were paired with the law of attraction? Isn't it like 1 of 12?
It is, I believe, 1 of 12, but they really honed in on law of attraction.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm kind of keeping focus, only for the fact that there's so many to go in between. But because of the term of manifestation, it very much closely connects to law of attraction, and that's why I
Yeah.
was like, you know what, we're just gonna hit this one because that might have to be a whole nother discussion of going through those 12. But it was very much carried out in a lot of Eastern traditions, so I mean you could go really either way with that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, but the law of attraction was coined by Helena, and just carried out a lot of awareness, and even if it was like subconsciously. So pretty much what it's referring to is helping us fully believe and understand that this is what we want, putting it out in the universe, and then watching things come towards it. Very interesting how that idea sits. I also think like law of attraction is and can be very useful just because if you know how to use it correctly, there's a lot of really awesome things that can come from it. But also you have to understand that there are opposite sides of that, which is part of the 12 different laws. But that is the big main one with manifestation, which I think is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But kind of just like the basics of manifestations. The biggest thing you need to fully understand is that you need to be in alignment for what you're thinking. So again, mentally, physically, emotionally, fully believing that what you're putting to God, putting in the universe, putting into life is going to and will happen.
Yeah.
You know, and alignment is more important than ever, especially in manifestation, because you are fully trying to be like, I am in a position for myself that what I want is out there and it will happen. And I need to fully understand and believe that to receive fully. So it just comes out very interesting. Have you, Sam, had any manifestations experiences that you would like to share? I thought that would be kind of cool if we shared a manifestation story.
Oof. You put me on the spot.
That's the point.
I've like okay, so this is a good example of it. I actually talked about this on my episode that I did with CJ that was toxic realism. I went from this point of trying to be like very structured with my planning, like I tried to be like stable and structured and things like that, especially like living in a like pandemic world, and so when I graduated college, I tried to find like full-time jobs that would give me stability and give me experience toward like what I wanted to do, which was work in film, and be creative. And so I kept wanting to like save money and be put in like save up money and then move to somewhere where film happened a lot so I could try and get into film that way. And that just kept not working. Like things kept happening and getting in the way that like would not allow me to save money. And the thing is that the sad truth is I like spending money. I just enjoy spending money. I enjoy having money. I enjoy spending money. I enjoy buying things. I enjoy giving money to people. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's, like it's just something that I enjoy. And I've come to a point now where I accept that. But because I am someone who loves to spend money and didn't really learn how to have money or enjoy having money, I was never in alignment with the opportunity to save money. So I was constantly looking for ways, like I was manifesting ways to spend money instead of save money because I was not in alignment with saving money. I was in alignment with spending money. And so then that shifted because I finally realized like I'm going nowhere. I'm not gonna manifest, or I'm not gonna like save money and end up moving somewhere. So I might as well just start trying to find a way to work in film now. And so I just put it out there into the universe. I was like, I'm in the right place. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. The right opportunity will find me. And the next day, a friend of mine texted me the link to a movie I worked on shortly after that propelled my like career into the future. Like, I mean, I literally, like, it was the same opportunity that got me involved with Lionsgate and then got me on the LG Pig program, and like it's like been nothing but awesome. So right now things are a little difficult because I had 2 movies lined up I was supposed to be working on that both pushed, but there are still a lot of cool things happening. Like I spoke at that workshop. I have another workshop up here that they're supposed to be doing in the spring that they've asked me to help with. There's a film festival that's asked me to help with them. There's a documentary about AIDS in Alabama that's, you know, like asked for my help. And so those also all came when I decided that, which the thing is, I've grown a lot in my spirituality, so sometimes I'll manifest things that I'm wanting to manifest that aren't right for me. And it's, you know, like those studio jobs. I was like, yeah, I want to go work at a studio job, blah, 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 all this other stuff. And then I manifested amazing opportunities. And then I was like, never mind, they're not right for me, you know? And so the moment that I did that, I was like, they're not, like, I enjoy, like, I'm ready to move up. I enjoy being in charge. I enjoy being a producer. I enjoy doing all these different things. Like, the moment that I decided that's what I enjoyed and that's what I was going to work toward, I didn't get opportunities that would lead me there. I got opportunities to do it. But because of that like took away the opportunities that I had lined up, where I was going to be travel coordinating a movie and I was going to be editing a documentary. Those are not the things that I enjoy doing. I mean, I do enjoy editing and I enjoy, like, it's cool, but I was like, I went from a mindset of, oh, let me find things that will lead me to my path, and then finally like shifted to that mindset of, let me find the things that I want right now. You know, like, I want to be a producer, so let me find opportunities that will let me be a producer now. And they have all been lining up. It's just they're taking a long time.
Yeah. Well, it's actually interesting that you say that, because that story, because that's similar to actually my story. So if you listen to the Crisis Line episode, this is going to make a lot more sense, but because it's a little bit more in depth of this. So pretty much in the beginning of 2022, I was mentally unwell. So mentally unwell. It was kind of out of the water unwell. And I literally was trying to think of anything and everything to get out of my job. I hated my job. I felt like it was so constraining and that I couldn't do anything. I was applying for jobs in and out. I applied for like at least, 30, 40 jobs a week. Like, I was trying to get out of the job so bad, but I just felt so trapped. I felt so helpless. I didn't feel great about my job. I didn't feel great about where my life was going. And and when I literally say, I literally was thinking about anything and every possibility to get out of my job. I was thinking of breaking my arm, hurt, like literally, like I was like, oh my gosh, if I just like fell down the stairs right now. Very intrusive thoughts. We don't love those. So I decided to quit. And it was really difficult. But once I, aligned myself with, I need to quit so I can find a new beginning. I'm going to find a new beginning if I quit. I manifested so hard. I was like, God, because me and God, we're homies. We're best friends. I literally looked and said, God, show me something different. Show me where I need to go. I'm ready for this new experience. I'm ready for all this. And once my mindset was all in alignment and I said the words into the universe, I said my words to God, literally within a month, I had a new job, which is my job now. I am so much happier. I have great benefits. I have so much freedom that I never thought I would have before. And I was so blessed. I'm still living in that manifestation. Because and even in that regard, I prayed, right? So it was just interesting to see like it in full force, and like that it aligned with what my journey was in this life, and it just all came together. Mm-hmm. So I think we had a very interesting, similar manifestation there that kind of happened.
Definitely.
But there's also the ones that like there was one that you said, or you mentioned that some manifestations don't align with you, which is really interesting that you bring that up, because not everything you manifest is going to come true. Mm-hmm. Because it's either not meant for you, or you have free will. The other people in that manifestation, whether it be family, friends, job, relationship, whatever, also has free will. But mm-hmm. I feel like the more you leave it into the universe, the more it'll push you in the right direction of what you need.
Yeah.
Type deal. What do you think about that?
I think that is very true. I think that I've had several times where the universe has when I manifested something, I felt the energy, like I felt it coming toward me, and then it came toward me, and it came to me in a way that was the universe going, "Hey, that's not right for you." You know, like it came to me as in like, how do I explain that? Like I felt the manifestation working. I felt whatever I did was coming true, but then the universe would then allow the opportunity to play out to show me like it's not right for you, or it would just simply say, "Hey, like you manifested this right. It would come to you, but I'm just gonna kind of step in here and not let it because it's not right for you and it's gonna take you off your track." In those moments, you just have to have grace and be like, "All right, yeah, cool. Like I hear you. Thanks for looking out." You know, I'm currently in a situation like I told you earlier where. To give more detail, because I gave you a very like summarized version of what's happening, things just seem to be very like still right now. Like every time I see like an opportunity to move forward or do something, it just like gets taken away or it takes so long to play out. And like I'm like, what in the world is happening? And like
sure, yeah.
I'm not dying. I don't have, you know what I'm saying? Like all my bills are paid. I'm just at a standstill with a lot of stuff, you know? And I pulled some cards last night and was just kind of like chatting with the universe. And the universe was like, "I'm making you be still for a reason, you dumb bitch." It was just like, literally, and basically what it was is like things you have been manifesting for years now that you were never in alignment with. You're in alignment with it now, but if you keep moving around, it's not going to be able to catch you. You've got to chill the fuck out and like stop running around for a little bit. Stay still so that the answered prayers that I'm trying to bring you can come true. Like sit still for a second, be still. And so I'm just like, all right, I hear you. Because sometimes we have a tendency to, because with manifesting, like, and I'm not going to jump too much on like this is how you manifest, because I want you to be able to have your full like your full explanation. But sometimes like it's balance between like I act and I receive, you know? And so like whenever you manifest, you have to be doing action. Like you're trying to manifest losing weight, what are you doing to lose weight, you know? And so like, or you're trying to manifest like $1,000 to hit your bank account all of a sudden, what are you doing that would allow $1,000 to hit your bank account all of a sudden now? But there are things that are not in your control. So like there have been people that be like, universe, I just need some extra money, I don't know where it's going to come from, I don't know what. I did that last month. I was like, universe, I need some extra money because I've got a lull between jobs, I need help. And literally I think I got 3 surprise checks in the mail where it was like, "Oh, hey, you paid too much for this one thing. Here's a refund." Like, "Oh, hey, we actually didn't have this much of a balance and we overcharged you. My bad. Here you go." And it was just like, what? Like, where does it, you know? And like, it was 3 random things. And it wasn't like, they weren't huge amounts. Like one was like $60, one was $90, but one was like $200, you know? Like just,
dude, that's nice.
Yeah. Just random things like that. But the thing is that I had situations where I have made decisions that were aligned with me prior to receiving those checks, that way whenever I said, "Universe, I need some extra money," it was able to go through those decisions I made that were aligned with me and then kind of change it up a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And so with that, there's like a balance between like I act and I receive. So what are you doing in order to get it? But then also like, are you doing too much that you're not going to receive it? And the universe is very much like, you're doing too much, you're not going to receive it. Like you cannot expect your manifestations to catch up with you that you've been trying to manifest for years if you're constantly running and looking for ways to make your manifestations come true. Like, you know, like if nothing's happening right now, like, yeah, like you're like if you're sitting here and you're manifesting career success, but there's no opportunity, like that's literally in the reading last night. It was literally like, there are no options around you right now. Stop looking. Like stop. Like you've got 1 or 2 good options that are in your path. You've chosen one. It's not happening right now for a reason, but there's no other options. Chill the F out. You know, like stop trying to find other ways out of this.
Yeah.
You're aligned. Like, you know, like, yeah.
You in a sense, you have to walk away from it, which comes to my point of how do you manifest? I'm not going to be able to hit every single way someone manifests. I do have a good chunk of information, but we're just going to go one by one here. a very basic way of doing that is I am statements.
Mm-hmm.
I am opening to receiving. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am that bitch. All that great stuff, right? Yeah. A lot of already putting it in the now is pretty much what that is. And when you're fully believing that and you're fully understanding that, you start to think that way, you start to move that way, which moves into my second part of manifestation, positive thinking. So a lot of the positive thinking comes with those I am statements or those different actions that you're already doing, which helps things move along and come at the time they're supposed to come. Another way is writing. There's a lot of different writing methods. There's like the 3-6-9 writing method. So writing the manifestation 3 times, then moving down, writing it another 6 times, and then moving down again, writing it another 9 times, and doing this at a repeated process. There's also different types of journaling and things like that. I know for me, I've definitely wrote a couple pages in my journaling, like I really see this happening, and I am this and I am that, and really just like focusing my energy into what I'm writing to have those come into fruition. But also, depending on what you believe and things like that, prayers work, speaking to your higher beings work, speaking to spirit guides work, angels, ancestors, all that good stuff, because a lot of things are happening in the background that you're not seeing in your waking life. Your subconscious and everything is part of those alignments that you need to stay focused on to keep those continuing. Another way that a lot of people, these two are a little bit more of the non-traditional ways. I feel like just writing and verbalizing I am statements with the positive thinking are very classic traditions of manifesting. Yeah. The 2 newer ones that I feel like are a little bit more relatable, vision boards.
Yeah, I actually need to make a new vision board. I was thinking that yesterday. I was like, I need a new one because my goals and manifestations have shifted a bit.
Yeah, and I really think that is an awesome way to not only like mentally visualize, but physically visualize what your goals are and what your manifestations are. Yeah. You pull pretty much what that is. If you don't know what a vision board is that you're pulling multiple pictures, quotes, words from different physical materials. Or, you type them out and then print them out and put them on there. Or some people even just make like a picture collage in their phone. But it's a very physical representation of your manifestation. Yeah. And you put in those positive thinkings. You look at it every day. You believe what you're seeing, I remember my ex-boyfriend had a vision board, like literally in his room by his desk. And like, that was like how he stayed on his like track of thinking, which was pretty cool. Yeah. And I thought was, pretty awesome that he was doing stuff like that. So anyone can do it. Yeah. It's just a more physical representation of what you're looking for in your life that you want to manifest in your life.
Yeah, I know I'm a little bit more of a witchy side. Some people will do sigils. So they have like a whole process they make of like making sigils that's like it's so intertwined and like it's so personalized that they feel super connected to it. And so when they draw that sigil, it like that helps them manifest, that helps them like visualize and bring energy in and things like that.
Yeah, sigils are a big witchy one. Another one that's kind of witchy but also kind of more day-to-day life type stuff is through music. Mm-hmm. So like I am a big person with music. If you've talked to any of my exes, any of people I'm friends with, family, music has always been my thing. It will always be my thing. It's very interconnected in my life. So the 2 songs that are my manifestation songs, which I think you're going to laugh, Sam, because I think you'll find these a little goofy. But I Am by Flo Milli and Baby Tate.
Okay, yeah.
I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am rich. I am that bitch. I'm gonna go get that bag and I am not gonna take your shit. Exactly. I am protected, well respected. I'm a queen. I'm a dream. I do what I want to do and I'm who I'm gonna be because I am me. That is literally the refrain of the song and I sing it every day. Yes, that is every single word. Correct. Yes.
Yeah, she's from Mobile.
I saw her at Hangout. She was really good. I saw her at Hangout. It was awesome. But that's like that's my main song. I know a couple of my other friends also listen to that song as a manifestation song. So
Hells yeah.
You know, but it's a thing. It's a thing. Another song that
I have a whole lot of songs I listen to.
The top 2 that I'm into right now is that one, and then Alien Superstar by Beyonce. And let me tell you why. If you listen to the first part of the song, she goes, I'm one of one. I'm number one. I'm the only one. Don't waste your time trying to compete with me. It's very much, it just illuminates this confidence and illuminates this like structure that I'm an exclusive being. I am just... And then literally the refrain, I'm too classy for this world. Forever I'm that girl. Feed you diamonds and pearls. Ooh, baby.
Yeah.
Literally. It is literally, that song is 100% just exceeding the idea and pushing the idea that you're an exclusive, amazing, gorgeous, beautiful item. Like this, not item, that's an awful thing to say, but like just this like rare discovery. Yeah. You're just this beautiful, gorgeous, like rare being that like only a few bitches get to be a part of, you know, like a few people's lives that you get to be part. And I think with those 2 songs, what I'm trying to do is, you know, keep up confidence, rebuild certain parts of my confidence. And like, that's how I manifest. I just sing those songs and I mean what I say when I say those songs. Yeah. And, you know, it's always really funny to me. And my friends, especially my Mobile friends, will understand this when I say this. They're always like, Gabby, you're so confident. You're so this, you're so that. And I look at them and I'm like, okay, so it's working. Because like because really, seriously, because I've never in my entire life, and I've said this to my friends before, I've never felt like this uber confident, gorgeous, you know, I've never like to my core felt that way. And then when I got to like the end of college, I really started just like accepting that is who I am. Like I do have these very awesome parts of me and stuff, you know, like I've always been a very hard, crucial, judgmental person on myself because I'm a Virgo. But anyway, so I finally started accepting that. And then I've had a lot of friends throughout the years, even some of my really good friends have been like, yeah, Gabby, you're like so confident. What are you talking about? And I sit there and I question it because I'm like, wow, and my manifestations are coming to light very slowly, but they're working. I fully believe what I say. I do things to match what I'm thinking, to match my words, and it's going to come to life when it comes to life. But there are also several other songs, several other ways that you can manifest.
Yeah. I have started just incorporating little things into my life, and I'll tell you, there were points where I felt the most aligned and where my manifestations were like coming through. I mean, like so quick. And it's whenever you should incorporate gratefulness and like practice gratefulness in your entire like manifestation journey, spiritual journey.
I agree.
Like I had to learn how to just like find gratefulness and be grateful all the time. And so I would do every day, I would write, and I would try not to repeat the same things from the day before, or like, you know, ones I had already used before. So I'll write like the day, and ... say, today I'm grateful for ... And I'll list out 5 things that I'm grateful for. And then I'll put like a quote for the day, like something that like captures the energy that I want to like bring in that day. And then I'll put a goal for the day. And I'll put like, what is something I want to accomplish that day. And that was just like doing that every day put me in such alignment, and I've gotten out of that habit, and now I'm in the place where I'm like really stressed out, unable to find gratefulness. Manifestations are like weirdly hitting, and so I'm like, I need to get back into that gratefulness. I
think, you know, and I kind of think about that, but that's, you know, when I literally said I am statements, that is another great example of an I am statement. That is another great example of just like fully accepting and understanding and being humble of what you're asking the universe. It's in, or God, or, you know, whatever you believe. But, you know, I think also for me, finding those little humble moments will help you later. And, and this is a time I wasn't very humble. A couple months ago, I was at kind of a stillness, numbness period. And I was just like, you know what? Nothing's going on. Like, I am so grateful. And I definitely said it sarcastically, let's be honest. I was like, so grateful. Nothing in my life is going on. And then literally like a couple months after that, it's literally like in your face, in your face, in your face. And I'm like, damn, I feel really dumb for saying that, because I wasn't being thankful and I wasn't understanding why that stillness was happening. And now that the stillness is definitely still not happening, it is a shitstorm over in Gabby world, but I'm re-understanding what it is to be thankful, what it is to pray again. Not that I ever stop praying. I'm a big pray girl. I love praying. I like talking to God, Jesus every day. That's how I am. But it made me feel a more closeness with what was going on, because I had them on my side in a sense, like in my head, because I've manifested all of this, like, thank you for, everything you give me. Thank you for helping support these people. Also, please keep supporting these people. We have these conversations. I have these conversations every day with God, but everyone's relationship with their higher being, God, Jesus, all that good jazz is different. Yeah. You can never tell anybody what their belief and their personal relationship is like with their higher being or God or whoever. Again, I will never say that, But anyway, go ahead.
I talk to my ancestors a lot. That's my main one. That's who I like talk to the most, is my ancestors.
Maybe I need to try that.
They come through for me, man. Like, they really do. It's just, they're here with me. They're listening, because a lot of times they pass down like their trauma and things like that through generations, and so when one person that is their descendant heals from that generational trauma and heals from that like generational curse, so to speak, that heals the family. Like, that brings the energy, that healing energy, back to the family. And so, they are some of the quickest people to support me whenever I need something. If it like aligns with who I am, aligns with my healing and my happiness and things like that, they will come through so quick and help me.
Oh yeah, big time. That's awesome. I feel like I need to like get into that more. I just haven't really done it that way, but it's an interesting way of doing it. And I think that would actually be a better way of doing it. I don't know. I'll have to try it out and let you know.
Yeah. Something else that I do is with, like, you kept talking about I am statements. Every single morning when I'm in the shower, I intentionally wash off whatever it is that I'm like wanting to let go of. So like, I say this little thing where I'll take like intention while I'm like washing my body with my body wash or my soap or whatever, and I like do it with my hands too. Like, I don't use like a washcloth or anything like that. I'm like doing it with my hands, like getting it off my body. And I'll say like, wash my past off of me. I am clean. I am clean. And I just do. I'll like if someone's like giving me the evil eye, I'll say like, wash the evil eye off of me. I am clean. I am clean. And like, I just say that. Like, I do it over and over and over again until I really feel like it's off of me for that day. And then I'm like ready to start my day. Like, I'm ready to get like to like. I step out of the shower fully spiritually, mentally, and physically clean, and I'm ready to like go tackle whatever the day has for me. And then in the evening, I go for my like jog, and while I'm jogging, I listen to music that like helps me like align and identify with however I felt that day. Recently, it has been the Midnight's album by Taylor Swift. But the 3 a.m. edition.
Incredible.
But yeah, so I'll listen to that while I go walk around. Like, it's literally like a nature park that leads out to our ballpark, and there's this beautiful little creek that goes through. It's gorgeous here. And so I will go walk, and as I'm walking, I'm like really paying attention to the lyrics of the song and like really just letting it like wash my mind clean from like whatever has been stressing me out for that day. Like, I'm releasing it as I walk and like pulling in that music that I'm trying to align with for that day. And I also like focus on my breathing too. Like, I'll breathe in like something and then release stress. Like, I do that, and that's my time to do that. And as I run and jog and like I'm sweating and I'm like I'm imagining like any type of like negativity, anything that has been like souring my soul that day. I imagine that like coming out of my pores, and I imagine that like falling off my body. And then whenever I get out in the shower, I'm like wash the day's like trials off of me. I'm clean. You know, like so.
Which is so awesome that you said that, because actually I was just thinking about this the other day. I'm a very empathic person. I literally can feel the sadness. I can feel physical pain in a sense. Like I have like these weird like moments where people are like, oh my God, I broke my arm. And they'll like explain how they broke their arm. And I'm like, ow. And I'll be like, was it your left arm? And they'd be like, yeah, how'd you know? And I'm like, because it's literally like hurting right now. So
it's broken.
I have a lot of weird...
Mine just broke. It broke right here, as you were telling me.
Literally. So it's like so interesting. And like, and I wonder if it's like if it's more of an energetically like vibrational thing or what. Mm-hmm. But I very much like, if I were to, let's say I give someone a hug and they like transfer whatever to me, right? I literally have to go take a shower to wash it off.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I mean, because obviously it doesn't have to do with manifestations too, like a whole, like the whole 9 yards type thing, but like, yeah, like it can weigh you down and like ruin your alignment. So I wonder, you know, obviously meditation and like doing yoga and things like that is very helpful if you're into that type of stuff and you want to, you know, come back into alignment in any sort of thing. But also like cleansing yourself, whether it be like water or like even like if you are gifted sage, you know, using that, or bergamot or something to like cleanse yourself to like get in realignment would be cool. But also like I always feel like I'm like this. I'm like, okay, get off. Yeah. Please stop it. I don't want you here. But it makes me feel so much better. And I wonder if that's just like a weird thing that happens to other people or what.
Yeah. I will say too that with my manifesting, because you said that about ruining your alignment, a lot of something that I had to learn was that you're not always going to be on the high. You're not always going to be in the high vibration feeling, you know, and that's something that a lot of like toxic spiritualists will like try to tell you is like one day you like you're just like going to be at such a high level and high frequency, like things just don't bother you anymore, like things aren't affecting you, like you're just above it. And it's like, no dude, you're still a human being, like you're probably staying high all the fucking time, and that's why you're feeling that way, because most of them look like that.
Correct.
And so it's, you know, you're gonna have down days, but those down days are still beneficial to your manifesting, because I saw this girl, I wish I could remember her name, but she's on TikTok and she's a manifestation coach, and I repost her stuff all the time. And she was talking about how whenever you're in a down frequency and high frequency, how it's a cycle that is meant to amplify your manifestations. And so like when you get into a down frequency, that's like a time for internal manifestation. Like, what do I need to do internally that will align me with my goals? What is holding me back? What from my past is still holding me back from aligning with my goals? I feel depressed. What is it that's holding me down with this depression? Like, you know, things like that. Like what? Like it's an internal reflection. And then when you end up back on the high point, which is like in the high frequency, that's the point to take whatever you've just learned internally and expel it and push it out into the universe. And so it's like a constant, like if you will get into that flow, like there's several points where I feel low and I feel sad and I feel down. And I'm like, now is not a time to be pushing out manifestations. Now is a time to be calling in acceptance. You know, like now is a time to be like, accept where you're at, understand that you're in a situation that you cannot actively change right now, and look at what you can do internally to help you come to peace with the situation. And then when you end up back on that high, you've got all this energy because you just called in acceptance and you rested and you focused on you, and now you can push all that energy back out into the universe.
And it's so awesome. Again, once I keep saying it's so awesome. Anyway, it's really interesting and awesome that you say that, because actually that gets into my point of how do you know it's working? And one of those signs is literally not clinging on to the old issue and trying to fix the old issue or the old thought or the old whatever, because you're trying to push yourself forward to continue this manifestation, to continue forward. So sometimes with manifestations, your actions need to also match what you're saying, and you need to show some change so that it can continue to push you forward. Another way, though, you can also tell if it's working is if the universe gives you kind of like a test. So like, let's be real here. So if someone manifests their ex back, right? So maybe the universe is testing you like, we know this is not for you, but you asked for it. Mm-hmm. But I will let you figure it out so you can wake up.
Yeah.
Which I feel like everyone had failed that test at one point. And I will same. Like literally a million times. Anyway, and then like if you feel like you are on a higher vibration, or if there's like positive vibes around you, that's also a really great sign. And the last two are kind of interconnected. Seeing signs, seeing repeated numbers, seeing everything starting to come in. If you start slowly seeing things like awkwardly coming in fruition, that's also a sign. Or like if you see someone's name, I don't know, like on a street sign randomly, like you could take that as a sign if that's something you've kind of asked for. I know for me, when I feel like I need reassurance, I use pennies and quarters. And I change it up. I'll change it up to like red bird, blue bird, whatever, you know, like I'll change the idea of it. But what the concept pretty much is that, you know, God, spirit guides, angels, higher deity, whatever. I need to know the answer to this. If it's a yes, give me a penny. And if it's a no, give me a quarter. And I'm not talking about the pennies and quarters that are, you know, lingering in your car. I'm not talking about the pennies and quarters that are in your wallet or in your purse. I'm talking about the random penny that you see on the street that's heads up. Or, you know, if I change it up, okay, if it's a yes, give me a blue bird. If it's no, give me a red bird. And I want them to be like in my face, like red bird, you know, like whatever. I manifest it to that to get an answer to make sure that what I'm doing, what I'm aligning with is going forward. That's a tool I've used. Now, not all of that works for everyone. You need to find what works for you. You need to know your own signs, your own vibrations, things like that. But that is what I have on manifestations.
Wow. Love that.
Remember, I did write all of this crossed. So this was a very interesting conversation for me.
Love that. This is a just a little side note too, because I have struggled with manifesting in the past, and I'm pretty good at it, pretty decent at it now. And I will say that I started off manifesting small steps instead of big steps. So say that like my big thing is like I'm a millionaire. And so instead of trying to manifest that I'm a millionaire, I'll call in that energy and be like, I'm my family's first millionaire, and accept that like somewhere on in my timeline right now, I'm going to become a millionaire. Like I'm already a millionaire at some point. But I would like then, instead of focusing on being a millionaire, I would then focus on like the first step and say like, okay, I am going to manifest amazing opportunities that are going to pay me what I'm worth, so that I have the financial abundance to pay off debt and save at the same time, you know? And so stating like, you know, manifesting that first step for the end goal helps a lot, because if you just try to manifest the end goal, a lot of times the universe will then be like, okay, well, you haven't done any of these other steps in between, so now it's time for you to learn tons of lessons to help you get to your end goal. And so then it'll just start throwing shit at you, and like shit that you have no control over or no say in. So if you go ahead and choose what your first step is going to be in the lessons you're like, then that makes it a lot easier for the universe to give you the lessons that you want to learn in a easy way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that way of manifesting. I've gotten okay at it. I won't say that I'm really good at manifestations or whatever, but I will say that I've definitely seen progress, especially when I feel like I'm in full alignment or when I feel like I'm in full belief, because that's when I feel like things are moving forward. But also like letting go of the constant reminder of it helps too.
Yeah. Bam. Well, all right. Well, if that's all you got, then we can wrap her up. Thank you guys for tuning back into another Weird Wednesday. This is the last Weird Wednesday of the season and of this year, because we won't have another one until next year. We'll be started back up in the spring, so keep an eye out for. We'll be posting about it all on social media. We'll be turning Gabby's extra Instagram that she's already got tons of great posts on. That'll be turning into Enhance's official Instagram. So we'll get Enhance an official Instagram. Probably not a TikTok right now, but at least an Instagram. And we'll have a website. We'll have some merch that you can buy. We'll have an official blogger, but we'll announce that later. And so we'll have a lot of cool things coming. So keep an eye out on mine and Gabby's social media. We will be posting, letting you guys know when the next date or when the first air date for season 2 is. And so if you want to find us on social media, you can find me at Samm if you do. That's SAMMED if you do. No spaces, no funky characters, nothing like that. I'm that on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. Probably going to delete my Twitter because fuck Elon. And also I just am not active on Twitter. So and then I will or if you want to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast, you can just find us at Enhance. You will see the Enhance E. And if you want to find us on YouTube, we are at Enhance Podcast. And Gabby, do you want to yell your social media at people?
Yes. Oh, mine is G Sabat 1234, which will be turning into the Enhance Podcast actual official Instagram. My personal is gsabat97, and then on TikTok, if you do want to follow me, I am at GabbyS80. So beat me if you want to reach me. I'm around. Come hang out with me and my makeup randomness.
Yeah. Awesome. Sounds good. Well, thank you guys again for tuning in, and we will see you next time. New episodes every Saturday and bonus episodes the third Wednesday of every month. Bye.
Billy. Thanks for listening to Weird Wednesday. Tune in the third Wednesday of every month for more strange, unsettling, and spooky.